See, I can't even say the easiest part. I can't even say the first start. All right. This episode of Merely a Setback is brought to you by Professor Putricide's perfectly personable personal passenger pack, now available at your local Ice Crown Citadel location.
It's time to get your battle text scrolling and that trade chat trolling, and buckle up for the podcast about storytelling in the world of Warcraft. This is Merely a Setback.
Greetings, fellow lorewalkers, and welcome to Merely a Setback, a podcast about storytelling in the world of Warcraft. My name is Sharku, and I'm coming to you from my podcasting perch high in the mountains of North Carolina. I'm also a player on the Convert to Raid Battle.net News, a raid leader for the Asparagus Initiative, and a member of the CTR community at large, and really just a big Blizzard dork. And joining me, as always, are our brilliant Merely a Setback lore masters. But first, we have a very, very special treat for you guys tonight. You know him from the Frog Pants Network podcast, like The Morning Stream, Core, The Instance, the creator of the most successful WoW podcast of all time, the inspiration behind countless content creators around the world, the godfather of video game podcasts himself. It's Scott Johnson. Scott Johnson's on the show. Scott!
Man, I'm not sure you got the right guy, but hey, what's going on, everybody?
This is the longest intro I've ever written.
It's very nice of you to say all of that, and it's a pleasure for me to be here. As you know, I'm a huge fan of the whole CTR crowd. We're all from the same seedlings, from the same trees, and it feels weird all these years later to see how big everything has grown and moved outward. And I love being on shows where other true Blizzard dorks reside. So thanks for me on. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much for joining us. And it's true. I mean, this show would not be around if it wasn't for The Instance, you know. And Scott's heard this 100,000 times. I've stood next to him at BlizzCon while people would come up and talk to him. But I mean, it's true. A lot of stuff wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the success that you were able to create with The Instance and stuff like that. So we all appreciate that. CTR wouldn't be around. I never would have been on that show, which wouldn't have led to this show, which wouldn't have led to, you know, I mean, maybe we would have found our way somehow, but
you might have. It's funny because I look back on that time and it's kind of just dumb luck anyway. When I started the show, I was trying to find a show I liked in the very early days of podcasting, like late 05, 06. And everything I heard, there were maybe 2 or 3 shows that were branded as World of Warcraft shows, and they were kind of dealt with other games as well. And so I couldn't find what I wanted, and I didn't like any of them. No offense to any of they're still going. I think they've all gone by now. But I just went, well, I'll just do my own then. So let's just do my own. So out of nowhere, that exploded, and I didn't know I was going to do that. So you can thank the mediocre podcast of old. For me doing anything, and I'm glad that mine is less mediocre because it's been a wild ride. Well,
it has been, and I love your work. A lot of my friends, everyone I know, I don't know anybody in this chat room that hasn't heard of Scott Johnson. But let's move ahead and introduce our other lore masters. We do have other people on the show this week, even though I'm trying to remember their names. I'm just kidding. But the Great White North from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, Shoe Boots. Welcome back, bud.
Hey, I can barely remember my name myself, so thank you for throwing it out there. Really cool opportunity. Glad to have Scott here. I got to meet you briefly last BlizzCon.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, I got the photo credits sitting around here somewhere, but I've been having a great week. I got my 8th Mage Tower challenge done last night. I have the Retribution Shattered Ashbringer for all time now, so I'm feeling pretty good about myself in this world. In real life, things are going terrible. You don't want to know about it.
Aren't you like just finishing up law school and starting your first lot, like all that? Like, yeah,
I'm done law school and I haven't started my next job, so I am actually in this really cool place where
nice little sweet spot.
I'm unemployed, but I still know where my next check's coming from.
There you go.
It couldn't be better.
Better than most of us. Let's bring in our last guest also. Well, not guest, our permanent co-host. What am I talking about? By the way, Jared, you're fired. From Austin, Texas, is Jared.
Hey, I kind of felt like Jon Snow getting read Khaleesi's title there in the
a little bit, yeah.
Scott's.
Scott Johnson, Keeper of Dragons.
Yeah, the Mother of Dragons part is the only accurate thing I could actually call. A few dragons hanging around. They're just my kids. Just kidding, you guys. They're over there playing. They're over there playing Blizzard games. So
there you go.
Yeah,
nothing. That's family time. Blizzard time is family time.
Right.
Jared, how you been doing, bud?
I've been doing good. I've got my mage almost through level 60s, so I'm almost out of the pan and into the fire, so they say. So yeah, and that's pretty much the only thing that I've got going on in game.
There you go.
For like the last 6 months.
There you go. You got your first character up to level 60.
You get it a natural 60. This isn't a boost, right?
Yeah, natural 60.
I'm impressed with that because a lot of people are just like, here's $60. We'll just make it another boost or whatever.
Yeah.
I have a lot of respect for people who tear through that content and get to where they want to go. But I'm guessing it was better for you this time around because of all the scaled stuff that happened in those zones. Can you say on the other side how that went? Did it go well for you? Because I haven't done this yet since the change.
Okay.
It's been refreshing. I'll say that. It's been refreshing because it's not like the slog that it used to be. Like it still takes a long time, but it's not nearly as abrasive because you're not
have to finish out white quests just to move on to the next zone.
Right.
And that stuff.
Right.
You do what you want to do and then get out. I like that a lot.
But I've been having a lot of fun with it. Even just playing like a couple hours a day, just getting like maybe half a level every play session, and that's about it. And I'm still having a blast with it. So I highly recommend it to anyone that has any characters they want to try, or any classes they want to try out. Go for it.
I was going to say, if you haven't tried it yet, Scott, some of those allied race transmog sets, you get that from leveling, and you get to start at 20, so you don't have to go through. I mean, even though it takes like 5 hours maybe to get the 1 to 20.
Well,
but
we had a famously irritating conversation on the instance one day.
Yeah.
About how that went for me, because I thought I'd got everything done I needed.
Oh no!
To get my new my brain just went dead.
The allied mount or allied transmog.
Yeah, but what's the one? Who are the guys in freaking Suramar? What's their names?
Oh, the Nightborn.
Nightborn. Gosh dang it. Anyway, I was trying to get a Nightborn, and I thought I had done everything. And then the day they did, I mean, when the expansion comes out, it's all open and who cares, right?
Yeah.
But up till then, it was like, well, you have to have all these things done. And it made me so mad, I just gave up on it.
No, you have no idea. I'm the same way, because you had to do all their quest line to get to Exalted, and then they had another whole quest line that you had to do to get your flying, you know.
And I had High Mountain Tauren, but it was like, well, I have regular Tauren, and the difference is they're antlers. So what are we doing here? You know, at least the Nightfall one was like a blue elf with like a drug problem, and that's cool.
Blue crack elves.
Yeah.
This show is going to be great. We've talked at length about our love or hatred of void elves on the show before. So with that, let's go ahead and get into it. We don't have any announcements today other than, oh, by the way, Scott Johnson's going to be on the show today. We didn't announce it during the show last week because we didn't find out officially that it was all going to get set up this week until right after we finished recording the show. So hopefully those of you that listen live, I hope that you didn't miss it, but you should be live here anyway. And those of you that listen to the podcast, I'm very happy that you were able to make it into the chat room live. It's awesome. And those of you listening to the podcast right now, you already know Scott was going to be here. So that's our announcement.
And this is how you know if they're loyal or not. Because
exactly.
The ones that showed up are the ones that don't need an announcement. They're just here for you.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm checking. I'm making a list and checking it twice of you guys. So
thanks, Mom.
There you go.
Thanks,
yeah.
Thanks, non-white-haired Santa. You're the best.
Yeah. That's true. That's basically. I have told children before that I'm Santa's little brother because they stare at me.
Oh, that totally works.
Doesn't it? Be like, yeah, I'm actually Santa's little brother. When he dies, I'm going to be the new Santa. What? Santa's going to die? I'm like, no, he's not going to die because he's not real. All of a sudden, all the parents that listen to this show in the car with their kids, I just lost all those listeners. So
we haven't given the spoiler warning yet, Shark.
Maybe spoilers. Sorry, guys. This is a spoiler show.
Santa's not real.
But yeah, real quick, one more announcement. We are going to have a book discussion on Christy Golden's new book, Before the Storm. Not After the Storm, Before the Storm. After the Storm. That's going to be the sequel. But we're going to have a book discussion with that. What day did we say that was? I talked about that last time.
I think 2 weeks from today, I think.
2 weeks. No, it's not 2 weeks from today. 2 weeks from today is when the book comes out.
No way, man. It comes out like next week, you know?
Does it? Wait, no, it's the 12th.
No, we're doing...
Yeah, that's 8 days from now.
8 days?
Book club's on the 25th.
The 25th.
Okay, 25th.
So until the 25th, we're not going to have any spoilers about that book. About that book. So anything that comes out of the book or that was in the Amazon quote-unquote leak, whatever, preview, we won't be talking about that. So you don't have to worry about the book being spoiled. But anything that's in the PTR, anything that is live on the beta is free game for this show. So if you don't want to be spoiled, make sure that you wait until the game launches live before you come back and listen to these episodes. But for the rest of you, we're so happy that you're here. Let's jump into it. We've got some news this week, guys. Let me see. I didn't even get a chance to look over. I was trying to set up the stream today, like being like, I got to show Scott Johnson how professional I am.
Oh, please.
And being ridiculous. I know.
I've done things. The other day, I spilled the whole chai tea. I guess chai and tea are the same word, so I don't know.
I threw chai tea into my computer on purpose.
That's worse than what I did. But I dropped it right in the middle of a stream. It was the morning show, and I dropped my phone on the hard cement. Nothing broke. Everything's fine. The point is, there are no professionals here. Well, you guys are all very professional. I don't want to, whatever. But I'm just saying, I'm a dork most days. On a good day, I only spill one thing and not drop the other. So do not worry about me.
Good deal. I'll keep that in mind going forward. It's a big weight lifted off my shoulder.
I told you we were way too professional, Shark.
I know it's going to be. Well, we don't want to make Scott look bad either, though. You know what I'm saying? Like we've got a reputation of his that we have to help defend as a WoW community. All right.
I'm just saying, this is the last show I wear pants. That's all I'm saying.
This show's going to.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
I heard it was the first, but that's fine. Whatever turns your crank.
Might be a little bit of both.
Sure.
So apparently we've got Proudmoore cadets playing D&D in Bareilles. Jared, tell us about this interesting side bit of information.
So I just put this in for me because I'm a huge D&D nerd. But someone on Reddit pointed out that in Bareilles, in the beta currently, there is a basement somewhere in Bareilles that you can find some cadets of Proudmoores Army around a table discussing a pen and paper game and the rules therein. And I just lost it when I saw that, so I put it in the notes.
So a little bit of cross-geeking there for those of you that are pen and paper RPG fans that... I mean, I'm not sure any of us that play World of Warcraft would be any fans of RPGs or anything, or that's not like the whole basis of the game and how it was designed in the first place or anything like that. But
90% of those employees stay up late in the office and play D&D all the time. I mean, I've heard from multiple people over there that have a huge hand in what we've gotten from Warcraft over the years, including Chris Metzen, who credit things like D&D, but then also things like Warhammer.
Yeah.
Warhammer 40K in the case of StarCraft and things like that. Like, those guys are nerds who love the stuff we love, and then they're like, hey, what if we made something cooler? And then they go do that.
Yeah.
But you can always trace it back. Their DNA goes way back to pen and paper.
Have you guys ever played 40K?
Oh, I've never played 40K pen and paper or tabletop, but I buy and play every 40K video game made.
Okay.
Because I love that world so much. I bought one today, in fact. Because I'm so into that space. And guys, I was saying this earlier, but guys walking around named Ezekiel who talked to their, some other guy in armor going, Bartholomew, we must take back the whole space Hulk. And there's nothing like it. And I freaking love it. Oh my gosh.
That's incredible. I was gonna say I had some friends that I never played. The only model game I ever played, I played a game called X-Wing Miniatures, which is the Star Wars like flight simulator model game. And those models would run like $15 to $30 for depending on the kind of ship you got. But apparently, the reason they call it Warhammer 40K is because that's about how much you have to spend to get a decent starter pack. Like it's about $40,000
way in the future, but no,
it's the price to play the game. It's ridiculous, but I love that. But yeah, so a nice little homage from Blizzard to
I would add to just Bareilles in general. Every time there's a new build, I'm kind of at a point right now on the beta where I'm not really questing anymore. I quested through a few zones and I'm just kind of ready to put that away till the game comes out now. But every time a new build comes out, Bareilles gets better and better. Like it is becoming such a vibrant city, and it's really has the potential to be one of the greatest zones in the history of Warcraft. Because like when it first opened up, there's a quest where you get to walk around and there's like, the Talia character shows, oh, this is my favorite tavern, but it's closed. And then a few builds ago, it was open. You could go in. And now this build, there's a few kind of patrons in there. And there's like a fish market. And there's all of a sudden there's a Pandaren guy on the dock selling Pandaren food. Like it's feeling more and more like this amazing sort of port town. And I they're still working on it. I can't say enough good things about Bareilles.
Right. I can't wait to see how it all ends up with the art, just playing through the beta, the art and everything is just so it's crisp. I really like the new zones we're living in. I feel like it's going to feel very comfortable, like homey. Like this is where we're supposed to be. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And
I was even struck at BlizzCon last year when they were showing this stuff on stage.
Oh yeah.
In the intro, and I went, oh, wait a minute, this is 2 steps further than usual. Like this is they always look nice. It always looks lush, and you always go, wow, they really are making this 2004 engine. They're really spreading it, making it do more things than it ever could, and it's always impressive. But there was something about the zone preview at BlizzCon and what they've shown since that has more depth and more, I don't know, like I don't want to say realism because it's still a very stylized world,
right?
But just feels like there's space in there and there's room to breathe, and I don't know, it's really hitting me.
I think for me it's like it's kind of to sort of bring it back to at least what I think is they're doing so well that's really working from them but they might not have done in the past as much is they have really fleshed out this story since like Wrath or like after Cataclysm. I mean, they've talked about in interviews, we've planned out the story for years to come. Like we've planned out the next expansion, the one after that. We know what's happening, and that's becoming more, that's that real feeling is we are part of the story now and we're living the story, and it's not just kind of thrown out there like this would be cool, this would be cool, wouldn't this be cool. It's a planned storyline, and they're designing the world around that story, and I think that all of these things are starting to fit together, so I think that's really, really cool that they're doing. Let's move on, though, to our next piece of news. Shoe Boots, tell us a little bit about, there's a new Princess Talanji cutscene. Did you find anything particularly interesting?
Yeah. So, I mean, for those of you that haven't been in the beta, Princess Talanji is a major character on the Horde side. She's the daughter of the king of the Zandalar. And I haven't played much of the Horde campaign, so I can't tell you too much about exactly what's happening in this cutscene. But one thing that is extremely of note, or yeah, sure, we'll go with that, is that the Spirit of Voljin is in this cutscene. So we were told Voljin's story is not over yet, and he's guiding her as she's speaking to her people. And the vibe I get from the cutscene is that only she can see him, but he's there and he's talking, and it's Voljin. He's back. So the promise came true that he is in battle for Azeroth, although it remains to be seen to what extent.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yep, and they're all standing up straight. Those Zandalaris.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Voljin's not even in spirit. He hunches over.
Yeah, poor Voljin's ghost, man. I feel like the ghost should get to go to the freaking the hair place, get an appointment, and and change that.
I know, be able to.
If the orcs get it, freaking Voljin.
You would think in the afterlife, Voljin. Maybe he likes to hunch around though. I mean, he's always on the ground. He seems very low, very comfortable with the earth. You know, being
he's always tracking tracks and like picking up a stick and smelling it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's got that. He likes to be low to the ground. He's one with Azeroth.
Yeah,
that's got to be what it is. But yeah, I can't wait to hear more about.
He'll be less annoying he'll be less annoying in a troll movie theater. Let's put it that way.
There we go. Yeah, absolutely.
I guess the only other thing of note in this cutscene is that there's reference, and I think this would be very apparent if I had played through the Horde zones, but several of the Loa have been killed, and I knew that some of them were going to be from some of the spoilers I read, but it looks like a major moment in troll lore where these spirits that have kind of guided troll civilization for centuries are at an end now. So I'm not sure what that means for trolls, but I think it's going to be a really cool moment for anyone that's really into the troll lore stuff. Some of these characters have only ever been represented in books before, and now we're going to see them kind of front and center in the game.
Well, and trolls, to our knowledge, is the oldest race on Azeroth, native race.
Yeah.
To Azeroth, right? Because they've been around since the beginning. Because night elves evolved from trolls. All elves evolved from trolls, because all other elves evolved from night elves. And yeah, and there's the Tauren, but we really don't know.
I'm trying to think. I think Chronicle mentions like that the Tauren descend from the Yongle.
The Yongle.
From Pandaria.
Well, where'd the Yongle come from? Chicken and egg, man.
I think, yeah. Is it the Yongle or the Tauren?
Probably just some gelatinous titan who pooped him out of one of his freaking tentacle hole.
Yeah.
That's how this stuff always starts.
But it would make sense that the Yongle would have come from like maybe the Mogu after the Curse of the Flesh, and then they became Yongle or something like that. If
I remember correctly, I think the trolls are the only race that existed before the Titans started doing experiments with life.
Okay.
So it's anything else. I mean, some are obviously Titan creations, but some we just don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. That'll be interesting to see how. I think that it's something that makes trolls a lot more interesting to me. You know what I mean?
I guess the other race would be the Akir, but they're the bug people, right? It's the trolls and the Akir, but they're not playable, and I don't imagine they ever will be.
Everything's going to be playable eventually.
They're terrible. They're giant bugs. They're man bugs. I'm not interested in those. I'll tell you what, though. You guys just talking about this occurred to me. They're about to go in a whole bunch of new branching areas because they're having to flesh out these sub races in a way that they haven't had to before.
Yeah. Because
we're going to get to play them and their quest lines specifically about them and unlocking them and everything else. It's a big deal. And thinking about all this, it just occurred to me, this is the first major narrative push without Chris Metzen at the helm of it. Now, he probably had something, these guys, they work like an expansion ahead all the time. So he probably had something to do with the inception of this.
He was definitely at least helping lead into it, but yeah.
Absolutely. But he's none of this stuff moving forward with these races, or certainly in the current state of the beta and soon to be launch client. He didn't have anything to do with any of this. And I know, I talked to him about this a couple of times, but this must be the weirdest feeling. And he has nothing but all the faith in the world in Christy Golden. They had a really good working relationship. I think he is the perfect flag bearer for what he used to do, certainly in World of Warcraft.
Right.
If you don't think about the other franchises, just Warcraft. But this is really an interesting go time for them, right? Because they now, maybe some players aren't thinking of it this way because when he left, it was a while ago and it seems like, he hasn't been there, so whatever. But this really is their first chance to truly prove that they can drive this truck without him. And talking to him, he has full confidence that they will. But also talking to him, you can just kind of hear it in him, like this weird melancholy of like, there goes my thing, I can't.
Yeah, I remember reading an article where they were talking, because he got a Friends and Family alpha, right?
Right.
And they're like, hey, play through the new game. And there are people, you know, employees, you know, so Chris, what do you think? And he was like, I don't know. I can't describe it. Because it's that weird, like, he's so very proud and loves the story, but at the same time, it's like, what are they going to do with it? What are they going to ruin? Like, you know.
Right. Plus, he's so close to it. Could he ever
right.
have a truly subjective opinion?
Yeah.
Or objective, rather. Is it even possible? And I don't know that it is, because it's his baby, and just like real parents, when they let their baby go,
yeah,
can't just go in fresh and go, it's as if I know nothing of this. Now I will enjoy it fresh, like a new player.
I can't imagine. I've the closest I can come to finding out what that might be. I've worked in the theater a bit, and I wrote a play once, and upon handing it off to the director, like, they have to keep the words the same, but pretty much anything else goes, you know, and you're like, what are they going to do? But that's going to be, I mean, I love what they've been doing. There's some moments, well, especially talking about the allied races, like we can get back into it a little bit, but you know, where the Void Elves came from and what's their deal. It just seemed kind of forced a little bit. Where you've got awesome races like the Dark Iron Dwarves, super lore rich. Excuse me, the Zandalari are super lore rich. The Nightborn, they created that. You know, historically there's not a whole lot of lore there behind it. They only created it in the last expansion, but it's really good, and it just fits right in the storyline. Whereas the Void Elves, it just kind of felt like, well, we want, you know, high elf, blood elf models on the Alliance side, but we got to make them different, so let's make them blue. How are we going to do that? And so hopefully that's going to be the only, you know, I don't want to necessarily call it a mistake, but the only sketcy move that they do. Because, yeah, a lot of these races, what they are going to have to, if they're going to make them playable races, the Fox people, the Volpera, yeah, they got to... Yeah. They have to figure out what's their story is going to be, because I don't know if they've said officially they're going to, or if it's been just talked about, not officially, but I mean, a lot of people are like, yeah, it's going to happen, but I don't know.
By the way, I have a lot of Korean family, and I'm 100% convinced that the Volpera becoming a playable race is all about appealing to the Korean audience.
Oh yeah,
I say that because they've told me that. They're so excited about that dumb-looking fox.
I thought they were just appealing to my girlfriend because all she has is what is it, the Flareon and stuff, the Pokemon. What are those? All of the Eevee, yeah, they all look like foxes, and the Vulpin fox. I don't know. Anyway, they were quick to point out that there are multiple big Asian MMOs, specifically Korean MMOs, where a playable race, you always have like some kind of fox option. Yeah, well, wasn't Wildstar, like, wasn't the main or the poster character for Wildstar like a fox looking thing,
like some kind of space fox raccoon thing? Sure.
Well,
I have no problem with it. It's totally fine with me.
I think it's great.
To do that, get the hosing in here. What are we doing?
Right.
Yeah. Well, Scott, if it turns out that the Volpera villages have really fast internet, I will definitely believe your theory. That would seal the deal for me.
All right. Fair enough. We'll have to check back in. Yeah.
The best internet, and they always win.
And they all play StarCraft.
I was going to say they always win gaming, Azerothian gaming competitions. Because it's just ridiculous. Anyway. We're gonna keep going from that. But yeah, that's awesome. We're getting so much stuff, and I think that the PTR is going to open up. I think on Convert to Raid, my guess was it was going to come out tomorrow. I'm not sure that's true, but probably the week after, if not, that the PTR is going to open up and everybody's going to get a chance to try this stuff out. And then 8.0 is not going to be too far away from that, maybe 3 or 4 weeks after that. And then 3 or 4 weeks after that, that's the launch date. So,
well, one interesting little tidbit, we're not talking about it today, but they did put the updated system requirements for Battle for Azeroth out.
Oh, yeah.
And they made a note at the end, be sure to upgrade to these requirements before July 1st to avoid having any problems for your gameplay.
So it sounds like July 1st is going to be the 8.0, the 8.0 go date.
Some shortly after July 1st. I mean, they wouldn't want to do it on Canada Day, but shortly after.
Is Canada Day July 1st?
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Canada. Because I know that.
You didn't know.
I don't.
We know
we're a Canadian on the show, Shoe Boots.
I was gonna say we're Americans. We don't know anything. Yeah. That's what you're for, Shoe, is to tell us the Canadian holidays so we know when to not do the podcast.
Right. Canadian holidays and exchange rates. That's what I'm here for.
Oh God, there's so many jokes I want to say right now, but I don't want to lose all of our Canadian viewers, all of Shoebi's family.
Oh, they're the best, man. The Canadians. I'm telling you, if I did a population map of all my shows, it'd probably be at least like 25% Canadian.
It's got they're great, and Shoe Boots is a decent guy, but he also spent a little bit of time living in the States too, so we can claim it was a.
Oh well, then we've left our sneak on him.
He's honorary. Yeah, that's what it is.
Great.
Let's move along. I'll take this one. WoW has on the Blizzard website now. There is an official Before the Storm excerpt post that they have published on their site. So if you want to, we're not going to talk about it on the show today, so don't worry. Everybody's like going, nope, stop, don't talk about it. We're not going to talk about before the show any of the spoilers that come out of the book yet today until we get to that book discussion on the 24th, the 25th, whenever that 25th. We said it was. Yeah, that's right. It's Christmas in June. But there is an official or two official excerpts that have been published on World of Warcraft homepage. Though we've reported on the show already that when Amazon put out some of the excerpts that Christy Golden wasn't super happy about it because she didn't. The quote Shoe Boots was something like, "That's not how she wanted the story to be told," or something like that, because it was just kind of taking little bits here and there. Now, obviously, a lot of people covered it, and it's great stuff. I think it's, from what I've seen, I delved into it a little bit, and I think it's the best she's done yet, and she's written some really, really great books, so I can't wait to talk about it. But if you're interested in getting hyped up for the new book that's coming out a little over a week, you can check out the WoW website and see some of the so wet your whistle on what's going to happen in the story coming up.
Yeah, and keep in mind, a lot of that stuff is just the publishers doing what publishers do.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I don't think she was mad at anybody, but it was one of those things that she's like, I wrote the story one way. What they should have done, I would think, as the publisher, is they should have released, they're going to release 90 pages, release the first 90 pages. Yeah. Get somebody a third of the way through the book, and then I need to finish this book, and then they'll buy the book. But that's not what they did.
That to me makes sense.
Right.
Why they don't do that, I will never understand it.
And I don't know. I guess I don't know. Because if you get 90 pages into a book and you don't want to finish the book, you're not going to. Right. You're not interested. Right. You're not going to spend your money. But
they're probably just not accustomed to having like a network of nerds like data mining your book, right, trying to construct it. Like, like this is probably, they put out some random novel. And like, who cares, right?
And they'll excerpts here and there, and they're putting out what they consider the most interesting parts to entice you to buy the book.
Yeah, like they never considered that there'd be like just this like band of neckbeards like piecing it all together,
starting podcasts about nothing other than the story of the video game.
I think you're dead on. I think that's exactly why. I think they don't know how to handle that crowd. They're used to. Well, who's the publisher? It's not Schuster. Who is it? I always forget.
I don't even know who this one is.
But they're, this is like them dealing with the movie studio when they were trying to get the movie made.
Right.
They run on different gears, and Blizzard's got
a
very specific culture that goes a very specific way when it comes to production and releases, and when those things don't align, it can get a little hairy.
Well, I think this particular book's going to be very successful, even in comparison to the other books that Christie's written and WoW has put out there.
Did you read her Star Wars book? I always hear it's great.
Oh my God, what's her name?
Forgot the name of it. Crap, Christie.
The one about Luke's.
No. It's about she's a character in Clone Wars. It's not. I'm thinking Valera. It's not it. It's
the Dark Disciple. Yes, she's in Clone Wars, and I forgot the name of the character. But the book's Dark
Ventress.
Disciple.
Ventress.
Oh, yeah,
Asajj Ventress.
And that's supposed to be awesome.
One of my favorite characters in Star Wars, and I actually, when I met Christy at BlizzCon last year, the first thing I talked to her, it wasn't about World of Warcraft. You know, it was like, I read your Ventress books and they're great. It's a short story and a novel. And what she does with her story, I'm not going to spoil it, but it's perfect. I'm a big fan of neutral characters, right? And Asajj Ventress is just a prime example of a neutral character. And in some ways, and in other ways, there's a lot of depth and complexity. Same thing. Sylvanas is another neutral character in my mind. There's just so much complexity to the choices they make, and what she does with Asajj Ventress, which is why, you know, I've heard a lot of people nervous about the things that Sylvanas is doing, what we're hearing about coming out of going into Battle for Azeroth. And I believe that in the hands of Christy Golden, we'll be fine. Have you guys had on the show a strong opinion about whether Blizzard's how should I put this? It's not beneath them to put data mineable dialogue that they only intend to distract us with and they don't actually end up using, or is the opposite of what they end up doing? I don't know. We haven't really had a big discussion on that. What do you think, Shoe Boots? About the idea is that they'd put purposefully false information in the data mine. I wouldn't put it past them because it has happened before. But to me, it's just so rare that it's pretty far down the list of possibilities for me. I think what's far more likely is that they're giving us half truths, you know, like, here's a piece of information that is real information, but we're not giving you the context. It's not purposefully false. It's purposefully misleading. Yeah. But I'm, like I said, if it turns out that they were totally misleading, here's the danger of misleading is that you're going to, instead of like misleading people it just turns one forum riot into two forum riots. You know what I mean? Like you get the initial forum riot, everybody mad about what was allegedly said. And then when you reveal the truth, you get another forum riot of all the people that are mad that the fake thing wasn't real. And so you just I don't know. To me, I don't really see much value in misleading people. I feel like it's almost just different perspectives. Like I was watching Taliesin and Evitel, and Taliesin said it's exactly what I would do if I would work for Blizzard. Like I would purposefully plan, you know, landmines in data so that people would, because I don't want the story to get spoiled. So I'd make them think all this is going on, and then once it was actually released, be like, yeah, well, we thought maybe we were going to that way, but then we didn't, and we just didn't delete the files or whatever, right? To kind of keep the story pure. But I don't know. But the nerds are going to dig through the data no matter what, right? Like that's going to happen. So you may as well put a couple of red herrings in there just to throw everybody off. I don't think it's necessarily bad or negative. I think it depends on. It doesn't matter. I think the big danger of it, though, is what if your red herring is actually a better story than the real one? Like that's what you got to be real careful. That's a big risk because exactly. Because if they're, for example, looking at Sylvanas, right now it looks like she's going to be a little bit more edgy and maybe even evil, right? What if everyone really likes that, and then they're like, oh no, we're going to give her more of a redemptive. She's going to be a little bit more like Anduin or what, and then it just doesn't make sense or something. You know, no, this was the better choice, and now you're going to have a bunch of people you should have done. You're absolutely right. That's a huge risk that they're going to be taking there. So, yeah, we'll have to do a show where we answer that question a little bit more in depth. But that's I know that's been out there a lot as an idea. Are they purposefully misleading or purposefully giving false information in the data mine text so that we can not know what's going on? I'll tell you this much: I will be very surprised if the character direction of Sylvanas is a big red herring. You know what I mean? Like, because I think that's what everyone's thinking about. There's a lot of people kind of hoping and pleading that Sylvanas is not what she looks like. Yeah. I think that they're giving us real information about Sylvanas. Again, maybe lacking context, but I would be very surprised if they went through this much trouble to mislead people about her character. I think the book coming out is going to really solve or answer a lot of those questions. But yeah, absolutely. We got a couple real quick things we're going to keep going. I'm sorry, Jared, you just said something for the first time in 20 minutes, and that just ran right over you. It's fine. So I'll throw you this one. Well, real quick, short news: the speaker which is the Windrunner sisters comic book. No,
that's Magni.
Oh, the speaker. Hey, you wrote the show notes. What am I talking about? Windrunner. Oh, I see what you're trying to do. You're wanting to talk about Magni. This is a free podcast, everybody. You don't have to pay any money at all to listen to us. You're welcome. The speaker is the Magni comic. What'd you think about it, Jared?
I thought it was fantastic because they painted him as someone that is having a lot of conflict with the current problem that is Azeroth is bleeding dry, and it showed a lot of back and forth between the conflict that he's facing with that and the conflict that he had faced in the past with his daughter. And it was beautiful.
I agree. Well, it's funny because he's the king of diamonds, and I've even seen him since he's come back. Is this idea? Well, I say he's the king of diamonds. That's just something that one of the whispers of Il'gynoth or whatever, right? That the king of diamonds has been made a pawn.
Right.
But
we all assume it's him. But we don't know.
It could be anybody. What was my favorite idea is that it's Gallywix, because the king of diamonds, he's always after riches, right?
Yeah, that was our theory on the instance.
Yeah.
Theory. He's pretty sure that they're talking about Gallywix, which is
one of my favorite ones.
Hilarious. Do we really want more focus on Gallywix?
They changed his model, Scott. The art went in and they completely changed his model. He looks like a hemorrhoid with clothes on.
I
know. Well, keep in mind the voice actor for Gallywix is Darren DePaul, who's the same guy that does the voice for Reinhardt. He's the big Blizzard loves Darren. Everybody loves it. He's incredible.
If they're putting Darren on a voice like that, that means you're going to get a lot.
I'm saying we're gonna get some Gallywix storyline, I'm sure. But
and we've seen he's pretty prominent in the story arc in Battle for Azeroth from what we've seen so far.
Yeah, he's there, and he's the one that's kind of urging Sylvanas, or at least enabling her to be.
Well, he's all about that Azerite, right?
Oh yeah.
He's a real opportunity. He's going to make some serious money.
And I feel like,
perfect role for that. They need a guy like that. It's great.
Sure. He sees in her, he's a salesperson. He sees in her eyes when she sees the Azerite, she needs it and she needs it all. And he's like, I got her. Her. If I can get her Azerite, I'm in 100%. That's the power that I already love what they're doing there, but that's going to be incredible. But anyway, back to Magni. He's this diamond skin, guy, and he seemed kind of a flat character after he came back. You know what I mean? Like he was just sort of this very distant, cold. Like his daughter's there, crying for him to come back with that old comic that they did back. I guess that was Warlords of Draenor before that came out, when they did that comic when he actually came back, and there was this really touching moment between him and her. But he was just kind of like, "Yep, well, I gotta go. It was great seeing you." It just seemed really cold and distant, and he not Magni. Magni was passionate. Magni was so angry at her for leaving. He was so, that's and now he's back. He's just like, "Yep, cool, whatever. Nope, I'm with Azeroth now. Peace." But this comic really, for lack of a better term, fleshed him out in a way that it's really awesome to see the struggles that he has with what Azeroth, the planet, the person, the Titan is going through right now. What do you say, Shoeboots?
Oh, and just juxtaposing it against his failures as a father, right? Like that's the piece that we haven't really got to see yet. We've seen Moira struggle with her relationship with her father in comic books and stuff in the past, but this is the first time we ever kind of get to go into Magni's mind and see he acknowledges deep down that he failed Moira, and he sees he doesn't want to fail Azeroth because he doesn't want to fail again, right? This is the second time someone's truly depended on him, and he doesn't want to make the same mistake he's made in the past. I thought that was a cool.
Yeah, they've made a really interesting, sympathetic character out of a dwarf, and dwarves are usually played up so much as comic relief. They're sarcastic, they're headstrong, they're all these things that they've been since anyone ever wrote a story about a dwarf, and Magni breaks that and turns it on its head. And his brothers are still goofballs in their own weird ways,
right?
But he's got this serious arc to him that makes him really fascinating.
Well, it's the same thing I had because I read The Hobbit before I read Lord of the Rings, for example, and you read all the Hobbit dwarves and they're, kind of silly and, dwarven, but then you start reading Lord of the Rings and you get the character of Gimli and you're like, oh, this guy's kind of deep. He's a little, you've got all that, that background, but there's a lot more complexity, and they're showing the complexity I'm really glad they're going this direction, because I was about to write him off as an important character as Magni, the voice of Azeroth. Like, nope, Magni's dead, and this is just a shell of his existence that is literally just the speaker for Azeroth. But this comic book is saying, no, that's not the direction we're going with Magni. There's a lot more that we have, a lot more of his story that we have to tell. So I'm very excited about that. Finally, in our news segment, wow, this has been the longest news segment ever. We're going to skip a lot of the other stuff we're going to do today. But we've got go ahead, Shubitz.
Oh, I can handle this last one really quick.
I was going to say, if you will do that, but to throw it to you, we've got some information about a certain black dragon that may or may not be remaking an appearance in the game. And while you do that, I'm going to go, I got to do something.
Okay.
I got to go get a thing. We're going to do a thing. All right, so finish it out. Okay, good? You good?
Okay.
You got it?
Yeah.
All right, don't run Scott off. I'll be back.
All right. So I think it was yesterday, Jeremy Fiesel, who goes by Muffinus, he tweeted out a link to a quest in the Battle for Azeroth beta. And I had it open here and I lost it. So I'm just opening it again. Anyways, it just says, and then a link to the Wowhead file of the quest. And the quest is called Unscarred Black Scale. And it's one of those quests where you pick up an item that starts a quest. So I don't know exactly where this comes from, but the goal of the quest is to attempt to find Wrathion in Blackrock Mountain. It's the description of the quest says, an utterly pristine black dragon scale taken from the dragons you recently encountered. The black dragon flight was completely decimated following Deathwing's demise and Wrathion's rise to power. Yet the size indicates a younger dragon. There is one person, one dragon that you know will want to hear of this, but where is Wrathion? You surmise he may be someplace familiar, fortified, and abandoned. Attempt to find Wrathion.
He's not still in the bar in Pandaria, just hanging out.
Yeah. Just wallowing in his sorrows.
I'm 100% sure that's exactly where he is. It's gotta be.
Gotta be.
I saw him there yesterday.
Yeah, he's still there now. But
talk about red herrings.
Right.
Yeah. That's interesting.
I am excited.
Yeah, I'm all about that.
People have been waiting a long time for Wrathion.
Scott, what do you think if we're going to see Wrathion? I mean, obviously he's coming back. What's it? Because talking about neutral characters, he was very neutral, right? We all saw him as, he's good. He's trying to save us from the Legion or whatever. But what's his role? If you're the story guy, what's the role Wrathion's going to play coming back? What do you think? What's your guess?
I think it does stay. Well, I don't know about neutral. It'll be neutral in the sense that he's no villain. They're not going to pull one of those where he flips for some reason. Or I don't even think they do a corrupted Wrathion thing like they did with what's her name in the last expansion. I can't remember the one that ended up dying.
Oh, Ysera.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
I don't think they go that route. Not just meaning his death, but just, turning him. I don't think that happens. I think what ends up happening, he ends up being a big force for good at some point in this story and may make a big sacrifice. But they've kept us on the line for this for so long. With that particular character that I don't know what they're going to do with him. It feels like no matter what they do, it's going to feel a little bit of a letdown just because there's been so much buildup. In Pandaria alone, it was like, oh, what's going on? What's going on with that guy? What's going on? You know, how are we going to have this all get resolved? We want to see him and his freaking dragonfly form, and it never happened. So I don't know.
And it makes it. I start thinking about, because we've got this whole next expansion is Horde and Alliance, right? Battle for Azeroth. This Horde versus Alliance, Anduin versus Sylvanas, and we have the only other black dragon that we know of, and the only ones that know about us are. The only ones that know about it are me as the player, right? Your character, the champion, and who is it? I think it's Bane Bloodhoof, because you learn about it in the High Mountain Torrent, and then himself the what is his name? Spirit Walker Ebonhorn.
Yep.
So Rathion doesn't even know that he has a brother. He thinks he's the last black dragon. And so I'm wondering if that's found out somehow, and he finds out that his brother is for the Horde after he joins the Alliance because him and Anduin are besties.
But I don't think he ever officially joined the Alliance. He
never did. I'm saying, but wouldn't, I mean, that makes sense because him and Anduin had, there's inappropriate pictures of them on the internet together. Right?
So it must be true.
That's it's on the internet. It's silliness, but at the same time, there was a special relationship, I think, between Anduin and Rathion on Pandaria.
Are people really shipping those two? Is that happening?
Yeah, please. I hope so. No, I'm just kidding.
There's
I just like obscure things like that, but
there's endless fan fiction about the adventures between those two.
whether it's a true romance or just a strong bromance, there is, I think, a relationship, and that's written in there by Blizzard. I think they want something like that, and the fact that Anduin is now King Anduin,
Randuin,
yeah, Randuin, right? Oh god,
Anduin. Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of. I think that would be really interesting if Anduin convinces Rathion to join up with the Alliance, and then he finds out that he has a brother. Only one brother. Because the Black Dragonflight was wiped out. And Anduin, introduces himself as the last of the Black Dragons, And he finds out that he has an older brother in Ebonhorn. But he's on the other side. I mean, come on. Blizzard, if you're not thinking about this, think about it. Because I think that's a great story. That's a great story because it's similar to this, the Windwalker sisters, right?
Maybe it's in there.
Maybe it's gotta be. I hope
this thing will come out and they'll show a big cutscene and you'll just be giggling your face off because you can't believe they did it.
Oh, I giggle my face off at anything, all the cutscenes. So, but I'll be super giggly that day if that's true. But yeah, that's my 2 cents. That's what I'm hoping for. Speaking of the Windrunner sisters, I don't remember if we mentioned this already.
We didn't actually.
We didn't really. I ran right over it. But there is a new comic. WoW has released. Blizzard has released 3 comics, or was releasing 3 comics, one in a row. The next one's due out tomorrow. Windrunners is about the Windrunner sisters. Scott, do you know the names of all 3 Windrunner sisters?
Yes, Sylvanas, Valeria, or Valeria, and Sylvanas. I have no idea.
Sylvanas Morissette.
Who's the one that's
you mixed up Verisa and Illyria.
Oh, Verisa and Illyria. There you go.
There you go.
I don't do names very well.
I always call Verisa Valera because of Hearthstone.
Yeah, that's where that's where I'm getting it from.
Yeah.
And but no, I am so beyond jazzed about just that whole triumvirate of sisters and how they're going to work some of this crap out. There's some dark business to dig through.
And this comic is going to be their meeting. Like the preview they put out. This is the moment we've been waiting for. The 3 sisters meeting for the first time since Illyria's return. I can't wait.
What novel was it, Shoe Boots, that you talked about Sylvanas's death wish for Verisa?
War Crimes.
Was it War Crimes?
So that's a Christie Golden novel as well.
Yeah.
And if you haven't read it, whether you want to read it or do the audiobook, it's one of the most important books in the lore, I think. But one of the subplots of it is that Verisa and Sylvanas reconnect for the first time since Sylvanas became undead. And Verisa misses her sister and agrees to go live with her. And Sylvanas secretly says, well, there's no way that my people are going to allow her to live with us alive, so I'm going to kill her. And so there's this whole plot
so that she can be with me.
So, and she doesn't know that. And at the last minute, Verisa changes her mind. I'm really glazing over a story that spans an entire book.
Oh, sure.
But at the very end, and this is one of the reasons why I've argued pretty passionately about why I think it's good writing that Sylvanas is going the way that she is going right now. But at the end of that book, she gets stood up by Bareilles and just loses it. Like, she screams at the top. It's in the Ghostlands, in that tower in the Ghostlands that belonged to the Windrunners. I don't know if you remember questing there in Burning Crusade, but that's where you find the locket, if I remember correctly. But anyways, she just screams and screams, and she's so angry because it's the first time ever since she was reborn as Forsaken that she dared to let herself care for another person. And she got stood up, and then she just like starts laughing about it and kind of like wipes away and like resolves to never love another person again, basically. So man, and
the
then now
tension is thick.
So this is not only is it going to be crazy to see Illyria and Sylvanas meet, but this is the first time Bareilles and Sylvanas are going to meet since
that moment.
Yeah.
And for her, it's been 1,000 freaking years, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was such a cool moment in the when you're on the Vindicar and you've met Illyria, and she's like, no, there's no way. She can, after everything our family's been through, she's the war chief of the Horde. And Bareilles is like, yeah, there's something else you should know.
Yeah, that's hardcore stuff. I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, that whole story, all of this, everything. I mean, this is one of the things that spawned this podcast, is their story is so cool that we couldn't not sit around and nerd out about it every week.
I think it's interesting. The last expansion was all about the brothers, right? It was all about Malfurion and their whole thing, and that had some really interesting twists. I mean, honestly, I always feel like this with Malfurion, but he's a little whiny. He's just
I've said it 100 times before on this show.
Is constantly calling out Tyronda's name.
Tyrande chose the wrong twin. That's 100% true.
100% true. And now we get to move to the cool sisters, so I'm actually excited about that transition.
Tyrande. That's
Tyrande, save me.
I actually got a copy of the Chronicle Volume 3 the other day, and when I opened it up, I was sitting there, my girlfriend was in the room. I was like, hey, baby, look what came in the mail. She goes, Tyrande. And I was like, I love you. I love you, honey. You're my favorite.
So says the shadow of Xavier.
So, oh God. That's what you need to. That's what we need to do. Like, we need to figure out what characters that we do their voices well, and we'll just do like a mockumentary of real life, like The Office, Azeroth version.
Right.
Although there is a content creator, I think his name is Nixium, who makes a lot of videos about Warcraft lore. They're very obscene, so just not safe for work, proceed with caution. But most of his videos end up with explaining that Malfurion is the most powerful being in Azeroth. So so it's,
Oh,
wow.
God.
They're pretty great. Just check them out.
There
I
we
will.
go.
I'll have to later. But speaking of Malfurion and Illidan, that brings me to a good point that I would like to make at some point, and might as well do it now.
Nope.
But
Nope. We're moving on, Jared. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Come on, guys.
Make the point.
The difference between the story of Illidan and Malfurion and the Windrunner sisters is that I was like audibly gasping whenever we found out that Illidan was the prophesized child of light, whatever.
He's not. Oh, go ahead.
But it turns out,
Yeah.
But anyway, because everyone thought for so long that it was going to be Anduin, we found out, and I was just beside myself for weeks. And you can ask my brother and my friends. I just could not, couldn't handle it. But the difference between that is that with the Windrunner sisters, I'm just going to be sitting there with a bag of popcorn, just like, ooh, what's going to happen next?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. With the other two, it was just like, I mean, I was very interested in Illidan's arc, and I thought he was portrayed really cool through that whole expansion. I really dug it. I liked everything he did.
I loved the choosing your own destiny thing.
But you got his brother Tree Prophet over there just going, oh, the wilds. Okay, we get it, you freaking tree-hugging weirdo. It's fine. You're fine. Everyone's fine. Tyrande picked the wrong guy. Moving on.
Yeah. Yeah. Retro Raven in the chat says that Tyrande shouldn't have picked either of them.
It's kind of unheard.
He says Illidan was obsessive at stalker levels, and that's true. Like
Yeah.
he literally joined the demon army to try to get with Tyrande. That's a thing.
But maybe if she just got to know him.
But she really should have. But he probably would have sacrificed him to his demon god. So
That
what
is
are
such
you
a
gonna do?
Canadian way of thinking. I really appreciate it.
But he was sorry.
Yeah, he was sorry.
He was sorry about it.
Yeah.
All right. Very good. We've spent at least an hour on the news, so we're going to move on from that. There was a lot of good stuff and a lot of good talk that came from it as well. But thank you guys so much, chat room, for being involved in that. I promise I tried to read it, but we have a huge following with us today, so I can't be necessarily as hanging out with you guys in the chat. What was it last week that we just basically Manny was a fourth co-host on the show?
Right.
Yeah. We kept, he had a lot to say about Jaina last week, which we were going to talk more about Jaina this week. However, we're running out of time, so we're going to get to some more stuff. And I know that there have been some questions that some of you guys have wanted to ask Scott since he was going to be on our show today that we're going to get to. And we're going to ask a couple questions, and then we're going to spend a few minutes doing a special thing, playing a special game that I think will be very fun. And we're going to see what happens and how that happens as we go. Scott doesn't know about it. Actually, I think I'm the only one. I don't think I told anybody about it. So we're going to see, and the stakes are going to be high. That's all I'm saying. Stakes are going to be high. So
Right,
stick
high
around.
stakes.
We're going to have high stakes. I don't know what the high stakes
I'm
are
out
yet.
for it.
It might be actual stakes at BlizzCon. So we'll have to see.
Okay, now we're talking. Sounds great.
But let's get to some of the questions you guys asked us. We'll skip straight to merely some feedback. And as always, you guys can get in contact with us on the show. You can tweet at us on Twitter at Setback Podcast. You can also email us at setbackpodcast@gmail.com. And we would love to hear from you. So if you have any feedback, have any questions that you want to ask us or any of our guest hosts, please feel free to shoot us those questions. But this first question comes from Kleptic. Our buddy Kleptic, one of the best warriors in the game. Him and Torridge can fight that battle out. But he asked if you could go back and talk to your old self before episode 1 of the instance, what advice would you give yourself about your own show and the Blizzard fan community in general?
Oh man.
Right?
No one,
It's a doozy.
He's going deep.
has ever asked me that before. That's a very interesting question. I think I can answer it. The answer is not a lot. I think part of the reason the instance worked and thrived and is still here is because I didn't try too hard. And by that, I mean, I had passion for it and I really wanted to do it. And we did it because we wanted to do it. And we've done it over the years for the same reasons. And all of that's true. But part of what I think made it work in the beginning was not trying to approach it with too many gloved hands and trying to be too careful with what is sometimes a volatile community. Let's just, get down to brass tacks. Sometimes the WoW community can freak out over little stuff. And if you get on there and misquote a thing or say something wrong about an ability that some class has that got changed or any of those things, I guarantee you're going to hear about it. And from a very early time, I made the decision that I wanted this show to be entertaining first, and for people to find kind of common nerd ground with people and have it be a positive experience to listen to the show. And that was number one. Number two was, and most of this is about World of Warcraft. And that's all number two was. So I still feel really strongly that was the right priority. I think coming in there and trying to say, well, we are the definitive only answer to anything ever in World of Warcraft would have been a mistake. And so it's hard for me to actually answer in any other way. And I don't mean it to sound trite, but I really don't know if I would do much different. In fact, I think if I'd have thought too much about it, it would be a different show, may not even be around anymore. I don't know. You got to trust your instincts, I guess is what I'm saying.
I like that. That's actually something that we've tried to kind of own on this podcast, because we're a bunch of silly goofs that don't have any idea what we're doing, but we're having fun doing it.
A really good vibe here.
Yeah.
It's the kind of thing I'm talking about.
Right.
It's finding your voice. Your voice is more important than trying to create a voice you think other people want.
And that's something I've talked to a lot of podcasters, Jules Scott from Torn Think Tank, Pat Crane. Like, if I want to start my podcast, what's the best advice you can give me? It's always like, well, what are you doing? You know, you want to find kind of a niche, but at the same time, everything's already been done before, except for you haven't done it. So it's finding that what are you bringing to it? Not that you're doing a WoW podcast is a WoW podcast, you know, and you know the Instance and Convert to Raid, for example, very similar shows. Convert to Raid focus a little bit more on raiding when it came out, but really it was and the difference was the hosts. It was how we presented it, not that one. I would never say one show is better than the other unless it was the Instance, but I'm on Convert to Raid, so I can't say that. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, it's you know, it's different. It's about what you bring to it. And Convert to Raid was successful, even though it was very similar to other shows, successful shows that were out there. But it was because of this, and that's something I thought was very inspiring that people have said before. But that's a great question, Kleptic. Shoe Boots, do you have a question for Scott?
I do. So Scott, I mean, I've been listening to your show since the Randy Jordan days. So as I'm sure anyone feels like who listens to a podcast for a long time, you feel like you get to know the people that are hosting the podcast, and you're almost sitting at the table quietly listening to them talk. So I've come to think of you, and I hope you like this title, but I've come to think of you as sort of the everyman of WoW. So like we're lore nerds over here. If I want to, you know, if I go and watch Sloot on Twitch, there's going to be super nerdy rating stuff going on, but you're the guy that is almost like the litmus test or the compass or what have you. Like, you're the guy that's going to cover right down the middle. What's the community at large interested in? And so when I think about that, and here you are on our lore show, I'm really interested, particularly because I've heard your episodes where you and Terpster talk about lore. You are someone, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the vibe I get is you don't consider yourself an expert on the lore by any means.
Not even, but no stretch. Yeah. That is not
but you're very, but you're very interested in the lore.
Yeah.
And so I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about how you, as someone who is quote unquote the everyman, considers lore to impact your gameplay in WoW, even if you don't know the ins and outs of everything going on.
Well, I think it's one of the reasons that the game has the lasting power that it has. In fact, I think it's one of the chief reasons. There's probably 3 reasons why WoW continues to dominate, started dominating when it launched, and continues to this day in a very weird niche gaming space. And I think story is easily in those top 3, if not maybe number 1. And the reason I think that's important, and the thing Blizzard seems to understand that other MMOs struggle with, is when you create iconic, relatable, interesting characters that we can understand very quickly, get our heads around very quickly. Thrall's not hard to understand. Even as his motivations change over time, you still just kind of get who Thrall is, and you know where you stand. You either root for him or you don't, but you know where you stand with him. The same can be said of Sylvanas. The same can be said of Anduin in the current lore, and you could say about everybody in between. I think without that, the game is far less interesting. Mechanically, it's great. I mean, that's another thing Blizzard does really well, is mechanically their games are sound and polished and wonderful to play, and they're always really fun. But I don't think they could have done it without the story. And the story includes a lot of things. It's not just the story they're telling, it's how they're telling it, it's how it looks, it's the art behind it, it's the concept behind these characters, it's the zones they inhabit, it's the music that plays while it's happening. Like, all this stuff creates connective tissue that makes WoW special. You go play any other MMO in the market, and even some of the good ones, the ones I like, ESO, for example, is a cool MMO. Like, mechanically, it's really good. I really dig that game. But guess what? I don't totally get the story. I don't know who's who. I don't know what's what. Yeah. Like, it's really convoluted. I see, the elf lady's got some magic. I don't know what her deal is, but it looks like she fell down. All right, what do we got over here? A guy who's basically a Viking. That's cool. Like, this is great, but I'm not getting that personal that personal touch that Blizzard always puts into their characters. And some would accuse Blizzard of being too simple with their characters. But I would argue that's the magic here. They give us simplicity so that we can get in. It's like their games in general. Give us the ease us in quickly. The complexity comes on the other side in the form of novels, in the form of us all trying to guess about what metadata means and what we think the new expansion is going to be. And like the complexity can come on top of that, but start with archetypes and character types that are just not obvious, but you just look at them and go, oh yeah, I get this thing almost just by looking at them. Overwatch is a great example of this. You look at each character and go, I know exactly who we're looking at right here. I know their personality. I know what they're up to. I can tell Junkrat's a little skeevy little turd. I can tell that so-and-so's like this. Like they do that in such a way that no other game company does. Nobody does it like this. A few try and succeed in some ways, and you end up with some iconic things like GLaDOS and, you know, Portal games or things like that.
Yeah.
But never quite like this. And it's because they start simple and the complexity comes later. And I think it's the most missed opportunity by other gaming companies. The ones that are always chasing Blizzard money and success, the one thing they miss is how important that aspect is. And they don't hire for it. They don't culture for it. And they lose out because of it.
Do you think WoW would have had a chance to be as successful without the Warcraft RTS games coming first and setting up that story? Like, is that a major factor? I've often wondered it, you know, some of these new MMOs, I always wonder, like, you're fighting such an uphill battle because you're setting up a whole new world that nobody's seen before. It seems to me one of the luxuries WoW had is they had almost a decade of story already in the bag when they brought it out.
Well, that and Warcraft 3 was, by all accounts, and they've said as much publicly, Warcraft 3 wasn't just, hey, let's build a world-class RTS sequel. Let's establish the groundwork for the game we're making next, which they knew was going to be an MMO. And so that was really smart and wise on their part. But I think that it does matter. But it's not a free ticket. Like, they earned that. Like, they earned it because they didn't skimp. They didn't go, oh, look at all this cool story, you guys. Wonder what's next. Like, it wasn't like that. It wasn't all hand wavy. It was like serious. They took that thing seriously. They built out those characters and kind of went nuts with it, especially when they got into 3. And I think that earned them a place to be able to launch an MMO that had the kind of cred behind it that Warcraft gives you. So I don't think any of that stuff's not that you're suggesting that, but I don't think it's an easy way in. I don't think it's lubricant for the next game. I think it's just smart next step. You did the work, you did the hard work, you succeeded because of it, and now you're doing the hard work for the next thing. And all your other previous hard work is just helping propel it forward.
Awesome. Right. We got a couple quick questions from the chat room. Scott, are you disappointed that Gadgetzan was never flushed into a true Mad Max land as Captain Logan?
Yes. Yes.
Right?
The answer is 100% yes. Like, anytime the game dabbles in that kind of stuff, I get excited. One of the things I loved about Warlords of Draenor was, and I didn't love that expansion generally speaking, but yeah, the I forgot the name of the shop that you would put in your garrison. Anyway, it was like a junk thing.
Yeah, the junk shop, whatever it was. Yeah,
whatever it was. That thing would poop out some of my favorite art the game ever made, and they were just whites. None of these were, rares or anything good to wear. It was all crap gear. And as they fleshed out Transmog, it made that even cooler. But there's this gun, for example, that's basically just this ratty old rifle with a knife underneath, but it's taped. It's not taped, but it's like wrapped with leather.
I know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that's my transmog for my hunter.
Yeah, my hunter will wear nothing but that gun.
Yeah.
And I have an entire getup for him that is totally Mad Max inspired. So
yeah.
So anytime they dabble in that, I get excited. I think the Gadgetzan is a lost opportunity in that regard. But then again, what I really want is just a full-blown Mad Max MMO. So it's like
that's what we'll just that's the new project that the Setback crew is starting on, guys. We're gonna be doing that.
Great. You guys let me I want alpha access.
I'll get you in. No, you can do voices. We got you. You're set.
Great.
Another question from the chat. Where are we? Actually, go ahead. Let me ask this one. Kale from our Discord asked, what World of Warcraft in-game memory sticks out to you the most over your years of playing?
Oh, there's so many. I've been playing it since the Friends and Family Alpha in 03.
I know, right?
So there are things in those first couple of weeks I could say, but I'm gonna say, and I know a lot of people say this, and so it's just Phil's stereotype, but man, it was something when we first took the Lich King down. Was an amazing night.
Yeah.
I'd been playing video games online with people for as long as that was possible. Played Quake 1 on freaking GameSpy with my friends and talked on the telephone while we did it over dial-up. Like, we were into it. And I had 2 phone lines for that reason. Anyway, so it's not like, this should be that shocking, but there was something about the fact that I think we were just doing 10 men then, but we had 10 people all on comms, all freaking out at the same time when we took him down finally after all that freaking stuff he does. That was when you were in the thick of it and trying to raid in time, not later when things got easier, but raid heroic then.
Right.
It was hard, dude, like really hard. And we were
serious. So you took him down heroic mode.
I think that was the night that I'm thinking of, because I know we did both, but I can't.
Well, if you did both, it had to have been heroic because that was no easy fight.
It was not easy. What was that defile or whatever that thing was?
Yeah.
Where he crap blue diarrhea all over the place, and it was the worst.
Yep.
We thought we were going to bang our head against that for weeks and weeks and weeks, and we did for hours and hours and hours, and we finally got it. I've never been a part of a group where we freaked out that much in a positive way. It was so much fun.
I think maybe my favorite moment was when Death Knights actually got defile as a thing, and I was like, Death, like I was remembering that fight. I was like, I can do that. Man. I will kill everyone with the poop.
When Heroes of the Storm got announced, and they announced that one of the first heroes would be Arthas, I thought
it's got to be.
He's gonna have defile and just ruin everyone.
Where's my defile poop? I need more poop.
Didn't really have it, unfortunately, but that would have ended.
There's still hope.
There's still
holding out hope.
We'll see.
They can patch it. They got to rework him sometime.
There are more Death Knights they gotta bring in there. It can't be just Arthas.
Sure.
All right, one more from the chat room. What was your first Blizzard game that you played?
All right, that I played seriously or at all? Because
I don't know. Both. First at all.
I played orcs first. I played orcs and humans, but not seriously. I was a Command and Conquer guy.
Yeah, me too.
For whatever reason, we just weren't that interested in orcs versus humans. But then when 2 came out, I played a lot more of Warcraft 2, a lot more. But it was Diablo 1 that really sucked me into a whole new headspace with Blizzard, and I never left since then. Like that could easily be the time. What was that? 96, 97, something like that. That would be the time I would mark as my all-in moment with Blizzard, and I knew that I would follow that company no matter where they went or what they did. It was so innovative at the time. I still play Diablo 3 constantly. I can't wait for a 4th announcement. Hopefully.
I was gonna say, are we gonna hear about 4 at E3?
I hope so. I mean, I actually have a theory that we might at E3 because Activision has nothing else to show except for Black Ops. So we might
hear that at E3, and if not E3, I really think I was convinced that we were going to have it. Well, I guess is it last year or 2 years ago when they gave us the Diablo dice, and they had in the opening ceremony, like the very first video, they like rolled the dice and then it landed on 4.
Yeah,
and I was like, we're getting it, and it was nothing. It was like, yeah, you get a necromancer. I was like, come on.
Like, oh, that didn't mean anything. We were just kidding. No, you jackasses totally.
They knew exactly. They knew exactly what we were gonna think.
The light switch fiasco a couple months ago.
Oh my gosh, the Switch.
I don't even know about the Switch.
I have a Nintendo Switch, and I like that thing a lot. And I have said to myself on many occasions, because the console ports of Diablo are awesome.
Yeah,
really well done. And I thought, well, man, if I could just be in bed on my Switch playing Diablo, that would be something. And then they do this tease where they have a Diablo night switch or a
light switch.
It's on and off. Like, come on. And they're all like, oh, no, that's just...
we didn't think about it.
Yeah, no, you did too.
You're trolling.
We're at Blizzard. That stuff doesn't just go out without everyone's approval.
Blizzard employees are all trolls. Jared, do you have anything to ask Scott before we move toward the end of the show?
It's another really complicated, probably long answer, but maybe you have a short answer for it. Is there any character in Blizzard's repertoire that you feel wasn't done justice or was done poorly?
Oh, interesting. That's a great question. Well, I'll narrow it to WoW, obviously, and I'll say oh man, that's really hard because there are a few that I wanted to see more about what was going to happen and where things were going to go. Like right now, I don't like where Thrall is. Thrall's in a weird place.
They just dropped him. Yeah.
Yeah, he's just not. He's not the hotness anymore, and I get it. And he needs something new, and that's fine.
He retired.
Yeah, he did. He took his giant red pearls and retired.
Yeah.
But I probably would say Voljin. He just wasn't there very long, and I loved the idea of a troll leader of the Horde, and he took a thing to the chest, and that was it. Like, you're out. Like, I don't know. It just felt like a real bummer, and they can do more with him, you know, Afterlife. You may get a little... Like, I felt this way about Obi-Wan Kenobi in Star Wars Episode 4, but look, you know, they made him into something bigger as those next two movies went on. And that's cool. Maybe they do that with him. But, yeah, that bummed me out. Other people, like the end of Varian Wrynn, who, by the way, every time you're in Azeroth now, you're breathing him in. You're actually breathing in his little green spores. I don't know if you know that. Think about that, except just keep your mouth, you know, breathe with your mouth, not with your nose. But anyway, the point is, his death was kind of cool and had some finality to it, and it really sets things up for Anduin. Like, it had that was a meaningful arc. It's sad, but cool. That's great for the leader of the Alliance, but for the leader of the Horde, it's like, I took a thing in the fight. See you later. You're the new Horde leader. That bummed me out.
Oh, man.
Good
All
answer.
right. Thank
like
you
that.
guys so much for sending in your questions. And thank you, Scott, for being willing to answer some of our questions and our listeners' questions. We always really appreciate when our guest hosts are able to take the time to talk back to our crew and some questions that we might not necessarily get other places, because a lot of times people here are just nerdy about story and lore. And there you go. Good. Words are things that are happening. So there we go. We're going to end off today. I have a challenge. It's going to be a Warcraft Trivial Pursuit challenge. All right.
I'm terrible at these. Let's do it.
Exactly. So we're going to go through, and I'll let you guys pick a topic. I'll go, and we're going to see out of the three of you guys who the Warcraft challenge is. The first 1 to 3 questions, and now we can't have a tie. If all of you answer like all 3 questions, you know, we could have a 3-way tie. But I'll ask each of you questions. The first person to 3 correct answers wins the game.
Okay.
All right. So I think we have time to do this. I'll go quick.
Let me open Wowpedia 1 sec.
Wow. No cheating. No cheating. This is speed round because we're almost out of time, but I thought this would be really fun to play. Now, and keep in mind, this game was, and this is the official World of Warcraft Trivial Pursuit game that I actually got. Yeah.
What's the publishing date on this? Just so we know.
It was published Mists of Pandaria. So the WoW is current up to Mists of Pandaria, right?
2012?
Something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I actually got it. Remember that big, like, crazy Blizzard sale that happened last year, and things were like, I got this game for like $5. No joke.
I know.
It's the best thing.
5 of them for giveaways.
Yeah.
They were so cheap.
Yeah, they're great. And honestly, get them. I've had more fun playing this game with my girlfriend than I've had in a long time, just sitting around getting drunk and asking each other questions.
Can you guys imagine playing Trivial Pursuit Warcraft style with the future Santa Claus? That's amazing.
That's true. Come on, guys. We're gonna do it. We'll have to do that as like maybe a Patreon thing sometime. But here we go. So the categories are geography, characters, lore, loot, villains, or encounters. Okay? So you can choose one of those: geography, characters, lore, loot, villains, encounters. We'll start with Jared. Jared, which one do you want?
I want loot.
Loot. It's all about the loot, baby.
All about the loot.
A famous mage said that once.
Now, are we all answering this, or is just Jared?
This is just Jared. This is just Jared. And then the first one of 3 correct answers wins. We might have to do 2. So here we go.
Like a new Amazon Prime series, Just Jared.
Just Jared. Which of the following is not a possible result for drinking Noggenfogger elixir? You drink, you breathe fire, you become a skeleton, you gain slow fall. Which of these is not a possible result? from drinking Noggenfogger elixir. You shrink, you breathe fire, you become a skeleton, you gain slow fall.
You breathe fire.
That is correct.
Oh,
One
well
for
done.
Jared. One for Jared.
Ooh.
Scott,
Nice.
geography, characters, lore, loot, villains, or encounters.
Characters, please.
Characters. What are 2 of the 4 druid class specializations?
Oh, 2 of the 4? I can do this. Hold on a second. My brain's going boomkin, bear form. Like I want to say the easy things that you say because you're being slangy, but
Yep,
hold on.
nope, I won't count it.
Yeah. So, hold on. What's the tree prophet? Hold on. This is really harder than I thought. Hold on. I don't play a druid either. That's the
We
biggest
need
problem.
somebody to do the Jeopardy song.
Okay, the healing druid is a. Oh my gosh. My brain has gone blank. I should know this. All right.
We broke Scott Johnson,
There's
guys.
no protection druid, is there?
No.
That's okay.
Is that your answer?
I was asking rhetorically.
Okay.
Hold on.
Don't give it away, chat room.
I'm not in there. I can't even see it. Feral druid.
Okay, that's one.
Okay, feral druid. How dumb am I? Balance druid.
There it is. Feral
And-
balance.
What's just 2?
You needed only 2. You needed 2. The
That was
other
just
2
good
are.
That was a good old fashioned brain
I
fart.
know. The other 2, guardian, and restoration.
Yeah.
'Cause I was
Resto.
sitting there, I
Gosh,
was
dang
like,
it,
he's
Resto,
gonna
fuck.
say bear form and boomkin. I know it, and I'm gonna say nope, wrong.
Uh,
We'll give it to you. Shoe boots, geography, character, lore, loot, villains, encounters.
Let's try geography.
Ooh, geography. Which is not a Pandaria zone? Talong Steppes, Solazar Basin, Vale of Eternal Blossoms, or Krasserang Wilds?
Sholazar Basin.
That is correct. I don't know why I had to look. I knew that, but I did. All right, we're tied at 1. We're tied at 1. Here we go. Jared, which one did you did loot last time? So you can't
yes.
pick loot. Geography, character, lore, villains, encounters.
Encounters.
Encounters. All right. How many Blood Elf advisors do players face when fighting Kael'thas Sunstrider in the Tempest Keep raid?
Oh, goodness. Oh, goodness.
150 attempts at Ashes of Alar gives me the answer.
Yeah.
Oh, no. This is going to be wrong. 4?
Is correct.
What?
Wow.
Oh,
Right out of there. Right out of there. Scott,
impressive, man.
geography, lore, loot, villains, or encounters?
Let's do geography.
Geography. Here we go. Sulfuran Spire. You know what? Screw that one. I can't even say the words, so we're not doing it. The zones in Silithus, Desolus, and Stone Talon Mountains are located on which continent?
Oh, Kalimdor.
Kalimdor is correct.
Yeah, I know that one.
There we go. I know.
Talk about desert zones.
You guys
I know
are-
all of them.
You guys are pros.
I have listen. Speaking of lore, I've got like a 9-page story of how Gerp was found and protected and lived in 1,000 Needles for most of his life.
Awesome.
And when the water came in,
I remember you talking about that on the instance.
yeah, Gerp and Henry were there to see it.
And then just were drowning when you logged
I have
in.
a painting of that over somewhere. Of somebody painted it and sent it to me. So yeah, you cannot. There's not a stumpable desert question.
There we go. I love it. All right, Shu, what did you get last time?
I said geography.
You
last
said
time,
geography
so-
last time. So character, lore, loot, villains, or encounters?
Characters?
Characters, games. Which
I'm sad that I'm flying.
which alliance races can be shaman? Which alliance races can be shaman?
So Draenei and dwarves and Pandaren. And I'm guessing that's the cutoff for the card.
Final answer?
Oh my god. Yes.
That's correct.
Oh, well done.
I was tricking you. I was trying to. All right, here we go. I'm going to ask you guys each a lore question now. All right? And if you get it right, you're a winner. And if you don't, you're a loser. Jared.
No pressure.
What magical storm is created when the first Well of Eternity imploded? What magical storm was created when the first Well of Eternity imploded?
Maelstrom, final answer.
Maelstrom is correct. Scott? Jared's a winner. Yay, Jared. Here we go. We'll do Scott last. Shoe boots. What 5 colors represent the dragons empowered by the Titans to watch over Azeroth?
The black, the red, the blue, the green, and the bronze.
That's correct. Red, blue, bronze, black, and green.
You
All right, Scott.
Got that wrong. Good job.
Scott, are you a winner or not?
You're like, you know
Ooh.
what? You're like Clint Eastwood. You took a bullet for me in that movie.
Here we go.
I can't think of the name of it.
Rexxar
Yeah.
is a descendant of which 2 races?
Oh, jeez. There's no way I'm going to know this. Well,
You know Rexxar.
yeah, no, I know Rexxar.
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
Rexxar. He's great. On the one side, Batman. That's why he wears that hat thing with the 2.
Yeah.
So he's got Batman, and then his mother was a bear named Misha. Now I don't want to look too deep into this, but I'm just saying.
Not the same Misha, though, right?
Well,
Just
I'm saying maybe he's making his mother fight for him.
That is correct. Half Batman, half Misha. That's exactly what it said
I
here.
don't remember any of that ancient brown troll stuff or orc stuff. I don't remember any of those.
Well,
names.
that's one of them. He's an orc.
Yeah.
The other is ogre.
Oh! I knew this.
He's half orc.
I freaking knew this.
I know you
He
did.
told me this in the terrible zone with all the pokey points in
Yeah.
BC.
Gorgrond.
No, wait. Was
Oh,
that it?
Decimus.
No, the one in
He was in.
BC and Outland. It was the
Grand?
the pointy one.
Oh,
The
the
Blade's Edge
Blade's
Blades
Edge Mountains.
Edge Mountains. I talked to him there, and I think he told me this, or at least part of it.
Well,
No,
unfortunately, Scott, you are the loser, which means you're going to have to come back on the show sometime and defend your title.
That's
So
fine.
that's all right. Good.
Poor guy.
We'll try to make that happen. I know it's a real. It's a consolation prize. You'll have to be consoled once again once you come back to the show. But in all seriousness, we want to thank you so much for joining us today. We are way over time, but that's okay. Nice long episode. A lot of great stuff. We had Scott Johnson on the show, guys. This was really great. So thank you so much. Make sure you send him some love on Twitter and such, and thank him for being a part of the show. Chat room, you guys were great. There's a ton of you. Coltrane, what? What? I can hear the Coltrane voice. Coltrane in the chat doing what? He's half ogre? What?
He's half Batman. That's what makes him.
Yeah, he's half ogre, half Batman. Actually, the orc is just automatically there. But there you go. Thanks so much, guys. Real quick, we're going to go around the room and remind you all where you can find us. Remind you can find the podcast at Setback Podcast on Twitter. You can check out our Patreon page, which we are really close to our call-in show goal, guys. So if you're interested and have the money and are able to donate some to us, we really, really appreciate all of the donations. Check us out at patreon.com/setbackpodcast. Really close to our call-in show goal. You can be a guest host just like Scott Johnson. You can be the next Scott Johnson. If you can help us get that goal, we'd love to have call-in shows. So please consider doing that. And as always, we thank all of our patrons. What you do is not expected, but it is absolutely appreciated. So thank you so much. Go around the room and say where you can find us. Jared, where can we find you on the interwebs?
You can find me on Twitter at prosperity_42, and you can also find me on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/prosperity42, where I have started this last week with a new series called Walking and Talking, where I just walk and talk about the game.
I have a bone to pick with you about that because everything you said about fire mages was wrong. So they're not off. Fire Blast was never off the GC. Yes, I watched it. You're my co-host. I was going to promote it, and I was like, nope. Everything about Fire Mage is wrong. No, I'm kidding. Go and watch it. It's a pretty cool episode. But yeah, Fire Blast isn't off the GCD. The problem is Fire Blast or Phoenix Flame, because Phoenix Flame is off the GCD, but you have to choose between getting an extra Fire Blast or choosing Phoenix Flame in the new expansion. Anyway, we're going to stop there. Okay. Because I was going to mage out on everybody.
Are you all three playing mages as mains?
No, it's just me.
Hell no.
All right.
I'm trying to get Colt to go back to play a mage, but we'll see. We'll see when he comes back.
My favorite alt is a mage, and I was just curious because I think mages have always been pretty rad. I don't know how I feel about the changes yet.
They have, yeah. I'm not sure. We'll see. They're not all super official. Frost plays pretty much the same, and Fire's pretty close. It's just that you can't do the crazy burst that you're able to do. But the numbers that I've been getting on the beta are kind of ridiculous. So I think we'll be fine.
And no one's playing Arcane anymore, right? Like they're done.
I haven't tried it just because I hate Arcane. I just hate Arcane.
Yeah.
I've barely played any. I have a Frost Mage alt, but I only have him on an RP server, so he can go around complaining that his hands are cold.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That one note in the RP is for it. That's great.
Yeah. Perfect.
Oh, I'm so cold. What are you guys doing? We're attacking the dragon, the great, whatever. Oh, I'd go with you, but my hands are cold.
I'm pretty sure all range players are just going to switch to Demonology Warlocks anyway because they look incredible, they feel incredible, and they're doing super numbers right now.
I keep saying I'm going to go Rogue next expansion, and then I log into the beta and see a Warlock working on a target dummy, and I'm like,
just like, no.
That's what I'm doing. That's what I have to do.
It's gonna be World of Warlocks, and exactly what's gonna be next. We're gonna have and Demo will be the tank spec as well. So, all right. Yeah. On that note, Shoe Boots, where can we find you around the interwebs?
You can find me at the Shoe Boots on Twitter, theshoeboots@gmail.com, and I stream on twitch.tv/shoeboots. And in the honor of Scott Johnson being here, I've got something else coming up that I can't talk about yet.
Whoa.
Oh, he's pulling a Johnson, folks.
He is pulling a Johnson. Oh,
I was trying to make something without giving away that Scott was going to be our super secret special guest. That I was pulling when I said we're going to have a cool guest coming up, but we can't announce it yet. I wanted to say I was pulling a Johnson, hint, but that would give it away. So
sure.
Unfortunate. And I'm Sharku. You can find me at Sharku_CTR. You can find me on Twitch TV/Sharku_CTR when I'm streaming, which hasn't been much of late, but I don't know. It's summertime. Maybe I'll get on some more and we'll have some fun. You can also check me out at Convert to Raid. ConvertToRaid.com is our website. You can check out this show over there as well. You can also check us out at twitch.tv/ConvertToRaid. We record 10 o'clock Eastern on Tuesday nights. So I'll be on the show tomorrow night, and it'll be fun. We'll talk about that new webcomic that just came out. That will have just come out. Lots of stuff about the Windrunners. Who knows? All right. So apparently I am completely word salad right now. Let's go ahead and get out of here after finding out where our super special guest, Scott Johnson, can be found on the internet. Everywhere.
4chan. No, I'm not on 4chan.
4chan.
You're going to find me most easily by checking out frogpants.com. Therein, you will find all the shows that I host and produce and work with others on. Notably for this audience, The Instance, which is the World of Warcraft podcast we talked about. Core, which is focused on Heroes of the Storm. If we get some Diablo news, maybe the Diablo show makes a reappearance. Ooh. Who knows? But there's lots over there to like, and if you're into just general other cool stuff, there's all kinds of things. General video game podcasts, have a morning show. Anyway, check that out, frogpants.com. There's something for everybody. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, I can be found over at Scott Johnson. And thanks for having me on, guys. It was a blast.
Oh, it was great. Anybody, you're the first blue check mark special guest that we've had. If you don't know, Scott's Twitter has an official blue check mark next to it.
Oh, so
right.
Saying
you are a legitimate celebrity. So thank you.
Well,
thank you for
joining. There are a lot of Scott Johnsons in this world, and the guy who gave me the Scott Johnson Twitter handle,
he must have been famous.
He's still mad at me.
Oh, yeah. I remember you talking about that.
He at one point just gave it to me. I said, "Oh, okay, cool." And then about a year later, came back. So, "Hey, can I have it back?" I'm like, No, not real Scott Johnson. You cannot have it back. I'm having this
you
name
can be
now,
Scott Johnson 1, sir.
That's all right. My buddy Will Smith is the one that struggles the most because he has Will Smith. He's verified, but everyone thinks he's the actor Will Smith. So.
Oh, no. There you go.
And he is a very white guy, ginger hair guy from Tennessee.
That could be that could be an upsetting mistake for some people, I'm guessing.
My cousin Barack Obama has the same problem.
Shut up. Too soon. My cousin Justin Trudeau has that. Okay, we're done. We're done. We've got one last thing. Jared, we have a new patron.
Aaron.
Thank
you. Just Aaron.
And it's the Irish spelling. Aaron. E-R-I-N. Aaron.
He'll drink himself silly.
Aaron, thank you so much for
your patronage.
Yeah.
Joining our ranks of
now find your pot of gold.
Thanks for your pot of gold, Aaron.
Well, it was fun while we had him.
Yeah. Sorry, Aaron. We got a bunch of what's up in Canada, and I don't know. It's my Canadian Irishman, I guess. Oh, I'm so sorry for spilling me Guinness. I'm done.
Yeah, you're in Molson.
If you want if you want us to make fun of your name on the podcast, please join our Patreon. We really, really appreciate it. All of you guys are our favorites. Thanks so much. We're gonna get out of here, and like always, we'll end our show with our catchphrase.
Catchphrase.
You gotta say it, Scott.
Oh, ready? 3, 2, 1. Catchphrase.
We're out. Good deal. Good job.
Good show.
Good job, you guys. That was great.
Scaring